So this video is designed to give faculty an overview of how to use release conditions within Brightspace by D2L. Release conditions are similar to if-then statements. So if you do this one thing, then you can do this next thing. So some examples are, if you score 80% on this quiz, then you can open the next quiz. If you open this file, then you can submit to this assignment Dropbox. If you post in this discussion, then you can see your grade item on this assignment. So basically this allows students to move through assignments based upon their progress. So if the student is trying to take quiz 2, but it has a release condition that the student must complete and make a score of 80 on quiz 1, it's not going to release quiz 2 to them until they make an 80 on quiz 1. Now this does not work on anonymous surveys, so you couldn't say, if you complete this survey, then you can submit to this Dropbox, or if you complete this anonymous survey, then you can take this quiz, or if you complete this anonymous survey, then you can see this grade. The reason why is anonymous surveys in D2L truly do not collect any data, so when they go to take the quiz or see their grade, there's no way for D2L to know that the student actually did the survey because it doesn't collect any survey data with an anonymous survey. So just kind of keep that in mind. Also, you want to be very careful about explaining to students what they have to do, because D2L does not tell the students what they have to do in order to get that release condition released. So for example, say that there is a release condition that the student must score 80% on quiz A before they can move on to quiz B. Say that the student goes to quiz B and they're trying to open the quiz. The quiz will say that there are unmet conditions, but it doesn't tell the student what those unmet conditions are, which the unmet condition, of course, is that you must score 80% on quiz A. It doesn't tell him or her that. So you want to make sure that you as the instructor provide that information either in the add description area in the module or on the activity itself. Okay, so let's try to put a couple of release conditions on some activities and assignments in this course. So you're going to place the release condition on the item that you want restricted. So say for example, I have quiz A and quiz B, and I want the students to not be able to take quiz B until they have made a certain score on quiz A. I am going to put the release condition on quiz B because quiz B is the one that I'm restricting based upon whatever the qualifier is, like making a grade on quiz A. So let's do one for quizzes first. So we go to the quizzes area. Now you want to set up the quizzes, quiz A and quiz B, just like normal. Everything's the same. The grades, the connecting to the grade item, due dates, all of that is the exact same. Then what you want to do is go into quiz B. So I'm going to just pick one that's quiz B. I'll do quiz 4 and 5. So I'll go into quiz 5. So I'm going to say that they must complete quiz 4 and make a certain grade on it before they can take quiz 5. So I'm going to edit quiz 5, and we're going to say that everything has already been set up for this quiz. The only thing I want to do is put that release condition on it. So I'm going to do that. Under the restrictions tab, I'm going to scroll down, and you're going to see this for any item that you can put a release condition on: content, assignments, discussions, quizzes, grades, everything. You're going to see this same area of release conditions. So I don't already have a release condition set up for this course, so I'm not going to attach existing. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to create one, because if I had already created one for something else and I just want to reuse it in this course, I could do attach existing, but I don't have that, so I'm going to create and attach. So I'm going to create and attach, and then I'm going to pick what they must do. So this one is quiz 5, and I want them to take quiz 4 first. So I'm going to find what type of thing we want to do, and it's going to be that they must have a score on a quiz. Okay, so they're going to have a certain score on a quiz, and I pick what score that is. So that's going to be Module 4 exam, and then I'm going to say they must have greater than or equal to 80%. So this release condition is saying they cannot access Module 5 quiz until they have a score on Module 4 exam that is greater than or equal to 80%. So I'm going to create that. It shows it to me there. And then I can save it and move on. Now, what if I want an additional release condition? So I can add that again. I can create and attach. and say that I also want them to have visited a specific content topic, and then I pick that content topic. So now I'm saying they cannot access quiz 5 until they have made greater than or equal to 80% on module 4 quiz and open the read poster video instructions, which is in the content area. So all conditions must be met. They must do both of them. Now, I also have the option of any condition must be met. So it's either or. They either make a certain score on module 4 or they open these instructions. Either way will let them in. Or I can set it to where all conditions must be met. So that's how you can do so with either just certain conditions or all of the conditions, but you can have multiple conditions. Again, you want to make sure though to explain on module 5 that these are the conditions and this is why you cannot open it until you complete them. So I'm just going to save and close that. And we have our release condition set up. So now I'm going to log into a student and show you what it looks like from that perspective. Okay, so I'm logged in as the student and notice that I'm on the entry page of the Module 5 exam, and notice that it tells me you must meet the conditions before you attempt this quiz. But it doesn't tell me as the student what those conditions are, which again we just set up those two conditions. So you want to make sure that you list that somewhere in the course so the student knows I must do these things before I can do these things. One place to put this information is on the module. If you go to the content area, click on the module, there's an area for add a description, and this is a great place to put that information. So in this case, I give an explanation that you cannot attempt quiz 5 until you've done these two things. So I update that so that when the student goes to this page, they're able to see right out the gates what they have to do. That's one place to put this information. Another place to put this information is on the quiz itself. So when I go to the quizzes area, I can actually edit the quiz and place this information there. Also, this icon lets you know that there's a release condition on it. If you hover over it, it will say that so that you as the teacher know that it has a release condition. So another place you can put it on quizzes is either in the description or introduction area. So I'll save that so that when the student goes to see the quiz, they're notified of that information right out the gates. Because again, D2L does not build it in for you. You want to make sure as the teacher to add it in. So I'll show you what it looks like for the student. So they would go to quizzes, they would go to the pretest, and notice that D2L just automatically puts this in there, but I added in this description, which lets them know what they need to do. Now let's do an example of putting a release condition on content. So I'll go to the content area and I'll find the file that I want to put a release condition on. So say that it is this one. So I'm just going to come to it and I'm going to edit those properties in place once I've uploaded it. And I'm going to add dates and restrictions. And then there's that release condition area. Now in this case, I already have some release conditions already set up in the course. So I can actually browse them. And it will let me see the two that I just set up already for this course. And I can add those if I want that same release condition to be used again. Or I can create a new one. So I'll create a new one. And I'll say that in this case, the student cannot view this content until they have posted in discussion 1 at least one post. So basically it's saying that until they post at least one original thread in discussion 1, they're not going to be able to post or see this this handout. And what I mean by this when I say see it, it will literally be invisible to them until they complete that discussion post, and then when they go back to the content area, they'll be able to see that that file. So that's what that release condition is set up. You may want to add in that information here. So you will not be able to open this file until you post in discussion. Again, because D2L is not going to tell them that. Okay, so let's try one for the assignments area. Again, pretty much this is set up the same throughout all of D2L. So say that I want to edit this assignment, and on the restrictions tab, I want to add in this release condition. So I'm going to add in a release condition, and I'm going to say, I'm going to create and attach, and I'm going to say you cannot submit this assignment until you have submitted to another folder. So until you have submitted to assignment 1, you will not be able to submit to this lab report paper. And again, it's a good idea that somewhere in the assignment area or somewhere in the module description that you put, you will not be able to submit okay, and save and close. So the last one I'll show you is in the content module. So I showed you how to put a release condition on a file itself, just a file. You can actually do this on the entire module as well. So say for Unit 2, I don't want students to be able to see or access Unit 2 until they do something in Unit 1. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to click on Unit 2, and I'm going to add dates and restrictions, and I'm going to create a release condition. And it might be that they cannot see this this Unit 2 until they have visited a certain content topic, or it might be that they visited all content topics. And so in this case, I'm going to do it so that they cannot see this until they have reviewed the welcome video in the Start Here module. So this is common when people want to make sure the students see the syllabus and read the syllabus. They will go through and mark all the modules as have release conditions, and that they don't release until the student has opened up the Start Here module. And you'll be able to see that condition here. And so the student will not even see the module until they have opened up and done whatever the restriction is. So for example, I'm in as the student, and notice that I said that I put a release condition on Unit 2 that until they looked at something in the Start Here module, this welcome video, they would not be able to see Unit 2. So this student has not looked at the welcome video in the Start Here module, and notice they do not see Unit 2 at all. They do not see the Unit 2 files or anything in Unit 2 until they do that welcome video. So we'll click on the welcome video as the student, and we'll let it play. And then we'll be able to go in and see that that release condition has been released. So I come in as a sample student and I play the video, and then I'm able to go back to the content area. I may need to refresh my browser, and it will have released Unit 2 to me. And notice now that I went back to the content area, Unit 2 is available. Now, some caveats with the release conditions. Number 1, it doesn't make the student watch the entire video. So I was able to scrub through that video and then go back to the content, and it released it. So it's not going to force them to watch a video. Same thing with content files. The release condition is making them open the file. It's not detecting, of course, if they read the entire file. They just have to click on the file. So that is, take the release conditions with a grain of salt on that one. You also want to be careful about how many release conditions you put on items, because you can inadvertently have so many release conditions that students get blocked. So, you can't do A until you do B, until you do C. Well, if they never do A, they can never get to B and C. So you can really block students almost out of all the content until they do something. You also want to be very careful on end dates or due dates for assignments. So say that quiz A has a due date of Monday, and quiz B has a release condition that you must complete quiz A before you can get to it. We'll say that the student doesn't complete quiz A and Monday passes. Now they can never complete and get access to quiz B because they can't access quiz A anymore because there is a deadline. So usually in most cases you either want to stick to deadlines to where you have deadlines for each assignment and no release conditions, or you want to have release conditions but you want to avoid deadlines or end dates because you don't want the item holding the release condition to disappear or become not accessible to the student so that they can never get to the second part of the release condition. And that is how you use release conditions within D2L.